Well, hey, I want to welcome you guys all here as we let people continue to come in. I wanted to welcome you again to our very first JobTread Pros Spotlight webinar. My name is Casey Taylor. I'm a customer training specialist here at JobTread, and I am excited to bring you this webinar series where we get to introduce you to some of our amazing breakout presenters from our Connect conference that we have every single year. We just had ours back in January. And we were able to hear some presentations from some of our amazing customers from all across the globe. As we can see, we've got so many people from so many different places here represented. And so I'm excited for you to get to hear what Scott has to share. So when he shares, I think that you need to make sure that you're ready because he's going to share some incredible nuggets of wisdom. So get your notes out. We have a Q&A that you can ask questions that we'll have some moderation for so we can make sure that we get that answered. But I just want to let you know that this is the type of thing that makes our software so special. It isn't just the functionality, it's the community of builders and businesses that use it who help us refine it to help make it the best construction management solution on the market. And so your willingness, like Scott's willingness to share best practices, templates, formulas, workflows with one another is one of the most important elements to this community. And it really sets us apart, I believe. And so today we wanted to highlight one of those customers who I just mentioned, who went above and beyond by sharing at our 2024 Connect conference. And so Scott Worley is the owner of Landsmith Landscape Architecture and Construction out of Maplewood, Missouri. And he is a longtime JobTread user. And I just want to let you know that as far as accolades go, and we've got a few, he holds maybe 40% sharehold on our awards. So he is the 2023 Best Use of Formulas Award winner, and he is also the 2024 Presenter of the Year Award winner. And so I want to let you know that I've actually gotten a chance to sit through this when I was brand new this last January. I was new to JobTread, and I feel like Scott just chucked me in the deep end, and I learned so much. And so for anybody that's been in JobTread, you are going to be in store for a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. And so I'm really excited for you to be able to learn from him. How this is going to work is I'm going to throw it over to Scott. I'm going to let him introduce himself further, and I'm going to let him walk you through his presentation, and then we'll have some time for some interaction. Scott is highly charismatic. He'll tell you about a YouTube channel that he has where he can share so much knowledge with you, but also he wants to answer your questions and help you kind of troubleshoot some of your own formula solutions. So this is being recorded, Andrew, just so that you know. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to throw it over to Scott, and he's going to give us his presentation on crafting custom formulas, elevating your budget skills, and please give a warm JobTread welcome to our very first guest to the Pro Spotlight, Scott Worley. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Worley.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Well, thank you for joining me today. My name is Scott Worley with Landsmith Landscape Architecture and Construction. As Casey mentioned, we're out of Maplewood, St. Louis area in Missouri, and we've got some really cool things for you today. We're going to be talking about how to build formulas. We're going to show you some examples of the formulas that we use. We're going to do a little bit of live demo, show you our catalog, and we're really going to get into how we can use and leverage these formulas to build out our budget in JobTread. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to share a screen with you. We're going to go through a couple things. And if at any point you guys have any questions, as Casey mentioned, feel free to throw in the chat. Anna and Casey are going to help answer some of those questions. I'm also going to be taking some notes for myself because we're going to have some time at the end near the end of our session to ask a few questions and see if we can get some things figured out here. So without any further ado, let's get started. While I'm pulling this up, if you guys came out to JobTread Connect, there's going to be a few things that are going to be new compared to what we did then. We've got a few additional formulas we'll get to go over. If you got to miss JobTread Connect, then we're going to get to see what we got to talk about and some things that we talked about down at JobTread Connect. So yeah, let's get to it. Now, before we start working within formulas, we need to understand where these formulas exist. And I want to show you an example here for a cost item. And what we've got here is we've got our cost items, and we're going to hit this ellipsis here, and we're going to show details. And on this details slide here, we can see that formulas can be used to affect the quantity, they can be used to affect the unit cost, and they can be used to affect the unit price. Most of what we're going to be talking about is formulas that are affecting the quantity, because what we're really wanting to know in a lot of our cost book catalog is some sort of calculation. How many 2x4s, how many boxes of screws, or maybe a rate, like a trade rate of dollars for square foot installed. And that's going to be used to affect that quantity formula right here. And this is actually an example where we've got a unit cost formula, and we'll dive into this a little bit, but this is an example where we want to have 3 different unit cost amounts for depending on which type of client that we have. So we want one for the homeowner, one for a custom home builder, and one for the customer. So we'll dive into this a little bit further, but for now, that is where these formulas live, and we're going to be working within this quantity formula column. Now, if you're in your budget tab in your job and this isn't showing here, the way that we're going to get this to show up is we're going to go to budget view settings, and we're going to scroll to quantity formula. We're going to turn this on, and then we're going to use this to organize the columns and move it into a place where we can see it. We personally prefer to have the quantity formula right before the quantity. This gives us the ability to affect and write formulas and see how it's affected in the quantity. So we're going to start off with something simple. We get this question all the time, and that is calculating waste. So here's what calculating waste looks like. We're going to take an item. Let's say we've got a sample takeoff. Actually, we're going to work right in here. We've got a cost group for masonry for outdoor kitchens, and we have these veneer flats for a stone called Harvest Mix. It's beautiful stone, natural stone we use for outdoor kitchens, and we want to calculate the margin of the square footage. So let's start by typing in our quantity, and to make it easy, we'll make that quantity 100. And this item lives inside of this group, and that gives us the ability to reference the quantity of the group. And we'll do that here by typing in and selecting the parent quantity. Now, if we save the changes, we see that we've got 100 feet right here. If we change this to 110, that change is reflected here. This is where we get started. Now, let's say we want to do a margin. We want to take that parent quantity and we want to multiply it times a percentage, let's say 10%. So we'll type in 0.1. And now we see that we're getting 10% of that parent quantity. Now we need to add back in the quantity itself. So we'll come back here. I'm going to put it on this side. We're going to say parent quantity, and we're going to add it. And that's going to give us, we type in 100, that is going to give us our total plus 10%. And there it is. And that's how we build formulas. Now, something I want to point out here is that when we were building this, there could be some shortcuts. Maybe we're seeing this, we're thinking, okay, we take parent one and we can times it times 1.1. And that is a fair way to calculate something like margin. The reason I wrote it out separately is because whenever we're building these formulas, sometimes it's helpful to have the math written out inside the quantity formula so that whenever we need to come back and we need to revise this formula, we have some sense of what we're looking at. A lot of the times whenever we're building these formulas, we're setting them and we're forgetting them. So it'll be winter time or it'll be an off season. These formulas get built, and then it might be a year. It might realistically be a year before they're edited again. And so personally, we like to write them out. It helps us understand them at a later time. Now, we can treat these numbers like variables. So now we're going to take this to the next step, because what if we want to be able to edit this margin through a parameter instead of baking it into the formula? The way that we can do that is we can go to parameters. We can hit add parameter. We'll use number, and we'll call this margin. And we'll put in 0.1. Hit save. And now in place of the times 0.1, now that we've added that to our margin, it will now show up in our list right here. If you can't find it through the list, sometimes these lists get long. Start typing in margin, and we can select that there. And so now we've got the parent quantity plus the parent quantity times its margin. And if at any point we decide maybe we need to pad it and it needs to be 15%, we can go into our parameters. We can save that. And now it's affecting us to say 115. And now we're adding 15% margin to this. So this is how we can create a formula for calculating margin. So how do we take this to the next level? Now, in our instance here, we purchase these veneer flats in several different ways. We can purchase them by the box, we can purchase them by the half pallet, and we can purchase them by the full pallet. And sometimes in our outdoor kitchens, we might have something like 46 feet, and we want to get, well, here we go. You know what? I didn't even mean to do that. And we've already got a decimal that's a little wonky that we got to work with here. So what can we do about this to get it to a nice even number? And what we can do is we can use what is called a ceiling function. And the way this ceiling function works is the syntax is we've got X, that's the whichever number we want to affect, and then the number of decimal places. So we're going to wrap this entire formula here into the ceiling function. Ceiling, comma, 0. And now we've got it rounding up to 53. Now, before we go on and continue to use ceiling, I do want to point out that there is 2 other functions that could be used for rounding. There is the ceiling, which takes the number and rounds up. There is also floor, and that will force the round down. There is also, of course, a round function, and this will go either direction. So it's going to round either up or down. So you'll get to decide which one of these functions you're going to want to use. We use ceiling a lot. They all operate the same way. They all have the item, the number here, and then comma, and the syntax is the number of decimal places that we want it to move. And so they work the same, but that's how we're going to leverage them depending on which direction, how we want to round. In most cases, we use a ceiling function. Okay. And we say 0, so it's rounding to no decimal places. If we wanted to round to the tens, we could type in -1, and it'll round up to the nearest tenth. And if we want to go to the nearest tenth of a number, then we can put in 1. And that will move that decimal place up. Okay. Now, question we have here, this is something that we'll get, is how do we round to a custom increment? We buy this veneer in increments of 12, and then we buy it in increments of 48, and then also increments of 72. So if we want to create a custom rounding, we're going to take a step back. Let's go ahead and copy this, and we're going to bring it into our next item. That way we can watch our work. Okay, let's simplify this for a moment, and we're going to make this just the parent quantity. Actually, let's even make it easier. Let's just say it's 100, so we can watch the formula work. We want to basically take this parent quantity, and we want to round to the nearest 12th. So we're going to do a workaround where basically we divide this number by 12. And then we're going to take that ceiling function. Let's get this. Let's say we've got a number of 87. We divide it by 12. It's rounding up to the nearest division to 8. And then we take that and we times 12. And now we're going to get, you see how this 87 here has rounded up to 96? I could type in any number. If I type in 11, it's going to round up to 12. If I type in 13, it's going to round up to 24. And this is how we're going to get a custom increment to populate through our formula. And so once we've done that, now we can input. Let's use this part of the formula. Okay. We're going to take this plus our margin, Control C. And now we're going to put it in place of the 13. There we go. Let's see what happens. That is a big number. I believe we have some brackets that we need to put around this. By the way, if you're new to building formulas, welcome to building formulas. You give it a shot. Sometimes it doesn't feel right, and you look for the error. Let's see if that gives us the number we're looking for. There we go. The reason that did that is because this needs to be wrapped as if it was one whole variable. And the way that we do that is we will put parentheses around it. Without those parentheses, what was happening is that the margin was getting multiplied by 12, and it was not doing the correct order of operations. And we use these parentheses to control that order of operations. So now that this will, with the parentheses, will behave as its own single variable, we can then insert it into the formula. All right, great. So here we go. We've got a quantity. Let's give this thing a ride. Let's try it out. Let's say there's 68 square feet. What does that give us? Okay, so we're rounding up to 84. We can see how we're calculating the margin here, and now we're rounding up to the nearest 12. So you see how you're starting to get a sense of how these formulas are built. It's kind of an evolution of the formula. It's a building process, just like we would be building a house. We start by building a house, and the functions are the nails and the glue and the parent quantities and the numbers that you're adding and subtracting and dividing. Those are the lumber and the sheathing. And so we can go in, and as we are building this, we can start by making sure the formula works with just raw numbers. And if it's giving us what we want, then by piece, we go in and we start substituting that number with pieces of formula that we've built that we know works. And once these are all together, then it'll work. So, all right, cool, man. Thank you, Casey, by the way, for guys for handling the chat. I have been just so focused on these formulas here. Okay, great. So, okay, this is great. But what if we need to buy a bunch of boxes? We want to buy it by, say, the half pallet, which would be 48. So here's what we'll do. We're going to start by taking this formula and we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to make it work for 48. I'm going to take Control C, Control V. Now we're going to divide by 48 and multiply by 48. And now we're getting the numbers that we want to see. Any number under 48, let's say it was 11. We've got 48 here. It's buying because our margin, this is the number that's coming through. This says 11, but it's actually going off of 12, which is why this has turned to 24. If we did a lower number, say 5, then we're getting 12 here. We still have 48. So you see how we've created this minimum amount. And then let's say it was a larger number, say 112. We've got an operating number of 128.8, and that's rounding up to the nearest 12th of 132, or the nearest half pallet, which is 144. That's that easy. Great. Okay. So, takeoff question. Yes, we will get to takeoffs. Okay. So now we've got this formula that works for increments of 12, increments of 48. And just because we're having a good time, let's just go ahead and do one more, except let's change the increment to a full pallet of, say, 96. Now it's times 96. And this is in the instance where we say maybe we have 250 square feet of veneer. We're not going to get, a certain number of boxes. We want to be able to buy the full pallet. And so this is what this is going to round up to. 288 divided by 96. You know what? We're having fun. Let's check it out. 288 divided by 96. Yep. So it'd be 3 pallets. Great. Okay. Now we got a new question. And that is, do we need separate formulas in 4 different cost items that are triplets, basically, just so that we can decide what we're ordering by? There's got to be some way for it to choose. And there is. And it's one of my personal favorites, the if statements. So let's begin by discussing how an if statement works. And then we're going to integrate it into these formulas. Okay, let's begin by cloning. This is great, by the way. If you're building formulas, this is a practice I do. This isn't just for the presentation. This is kind of a way to work through the formulas and keep some of the pieces separate so you can see them working while they're all pulling off of that same quantity at the group level. And then it's just an easier way to know that your formulas are working the way that you want them to. Okay, let's get this thing out of here. Let's start with if. Now, I want to point out the context here. We've got if, condition, comma. The commas separate the items within the syntax. When this is true, when this condition is met and it's true, put whatever is here. This is the result. If it's not met, when false, then let's put out this number. So, for example, if 100 is greater than 20, which is true, as far as I know, then put out the number 1. If it's false, put out the number 2. See what happens. Oh, okay. Yep. See, it followed the path for the true statement. If we did less than, it would be false, and it's going to output that number 2. So what we're going to build is an if statement that looks at this number right here and decides which one do we need to pick. So we're going to take this, highlight it, copy it. By the way, I didn't point this out earlier, but I've got the keystrokes that show up here at the top if that's helpful for any of the shortcuts. So we're going to copy this. Control C is to copy, by the way. Okay. So let's go and let's say replace this number. Control V. We'll put that in there. Yes, I was being sarcastic. So the parent quantity is less than 20. Is it less than 20? No. So it outputs this number 2. We come back here and say maybe 10. The parent this quantity right here, which is the 11.5, is less than 20. So it's going to output the number 2 here. All right, we're getting there. Now, let's say we want to buy, if we're going to get to 3 boxes, then let's just buy the half pallet because that's going to be easier. Okay. Actually, let's do this. If it's going to be less than 48, which is our half pallet amount, again, we're taking it step by step. It's producing 1. If we are over that 48, say it's 47, but our margin number is higher than 48, now we're getting the 2. It's working. It's great. It's working. Okay. Now instead of 2, if it is less than 48, we're going to want to run the formula that we wrote for buy the box. So we're going to highlight this, Control C. There was a question about waste not being considered since it pulls from the parent quantity. We've got the waste. I use the word margin. You call it margin. You can call it waste. But what is being calculated in these formulas is actually this number right here. Hopefully that clears things up for you. Thank you. So we've got this number right here. The parent quantity plus the parent quantity times its margin is in total less than 48. And it's true, we wanted to calculate the box. So we're going to highlight this, Control C. We're going to go to 1, and in place of that 1, we're going to paste this. Let's see if it works. Okay, well, right now we know that 54.05 is larger. I'm going to show you guys a tip. By the way, if anyone's listening and wants to check the video real quick, this will be a really good thing to catch. This can really help build your formulas. You can expand the columns. The other thing you can do is you can hit enter within these columns, and it will help space them out a little bit. So we'll say if, and this can help us break it up a little bit. It's true. Ceiling. There we go, and we hit enter. And then if it's false, now we can hit enter. You see how it just helps us parse it a little bit better. We've got the parent if statement. We've got the criteria. We've got if it's true. And then we got if it's false. So, little tip. It's a good time. It's a good little tip. So, anyway, that can help parse this out a little bit, because once you start copying and pasting formulas into other formulas, it can get kind of lengthy, and sometimes it can get a little easy to get lost. So, okay, great. All right. So now we've got if statement here. I'm going to go ahead and back this up. I think I will keep this difference though. Okay. Let's give it a ride. Now it is greater than this number here is greater than 48. And what that will produce is the result of 2. And it is, if we come back here and we test it, let's say it's 25. Okay, that means we need exactly 28.75 square feet of this veneer. We're going to buy it 36 square feet, and our supplier is going to say, great, 3 boxes. It'll be a nice number for our ordering. And if it is larger than 48, then we want it to run this function right here. So now we'll do the same thing that we did with the last formula. Go and copy this. And in place of this 2, Control V, we're going to paste it in. Great. And now what we see here is that when it's less than 48, it's going to produce a number divisible by 12. When it's higher than 48, it's going to produce a number divisible by 48. Okay. Now you may be seeing this 96 and thinking, Scott, why don't you just get one full pallet if you're going to be that close? And I think you're right. I think that it would be great to be able to do that and have these formulas all live together in one formula for this item. That'd be terribly convenient. I think there's a way to do it. And here's how we're going to do this. I want to illustrate how these if statements work. You've got an if statement that says if. You know what? Let's do a better color than that. Does yellow show up good? There we go. Red. Let's do red. All right. So you got an if statement that says if, and then there's some criteria, and that's going to decide to go left or right. What we're going to add is what's called a nested if statement. So pretend you're on a path. This if statement is a fork in the road. A nested if statement is a second fork in the road. If it's true, go in increments of 12. If false we're going to do another if statement. One that goes by increments of 48 and one by increments of 96. So we're going to clone our item here, and we're going to build this piece right here. And when this is working the way we want it to, we're going to paste it in place of the false option of that first if statement. Great. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. All right. We're going to come here and clone. And let's see. I'm going to expand this just so I can scroll up a little here. There we go. Okay. So we're going to back this up one. And I believe it comes to this right here. 2. Too far. There it is right there. And that was a close one. All right. So we want, so we're going to make a second if statement. You know what? We can just change it right here. So if 48, then we want it to produce this formula. This is where it could be helpful to space this out a little bit. It's greater than 48. Then here's the true. And then here's the false. Now this time we're going to make this 96. So if it is greater than, let's just say 95. You know what? If we're close enough to the full palette, sure, let's make it 84. If it's greater than 84, we just want to buy the full palette. 95. I've decided 95. Okay. So if it's greater than 95, you know what? Let's make sure this is right. This is real life right here, guys. This is it. If any of you guys are familiar with building the formulas, sometimes there's a little bit of buffering there. Make sure it's right. So this is what we're going to want to do. We're going to want to qualify off of the 48. If it's less than 48, then we want to divide by 48 here. And change this to 48. Nope, it is less than 95. It's 48. Then we want this to do by 96. How about we just give it a shot, see how it works? Okay, so if this comes in at, say, 65, we're going off of the number 74. It is going by our increments of 96. You know what I realized? I realized that probably both paths could produce 96. So let's make this something like 72. Okay, so we're less than 95 and it's running this first one here. It's more than 95. Let's say it's 97. Now it'll be by this increment, 72. So I guess this could be 96. All right. And we're having a good time. Okay, so now it'll go by the full palette when it's this larger amount. Now we're going to take this if statement that we know works. Okay. I realize I did not clone this, so we're going to put this back. This was 48. This is 12. was 48. And this one was 48 as well. Okay. So in place of the second option, instead of it just running this function or this formula to divide by increments of 48, we want to have another if statement to decide, should it run this for 48 or should it run the one for 96? So we're going to copy this. And in place of this guy, we're going to Control V. And let's see if it works. We're going to put our total quantity. Let's say it's 10. Okay, here we go. And it gives us our 12. If we are at 32, now it's going to 48. We type in 70. Now we're rounding up to the nearest 48, which is 96. And if we're over, drum roll, 98, it's going to round up to the nearest 2 full pallets, which is 192. We did it. We figured it out. I can't hear your applause, but I'll just go ahead and assume that we're all cheering right now in our offices or at home. The takeaway that I want to point out here, because right now we're looking at a complicated formula. And in real life, when you're building out the budgets, you might not have a formula like this in every cost item. But the takeaway here is that we can build them in pieces and we can build them incrementally. And that is going to be the thing that's going to help when we're coming up with formulas. The other thing I want to point out, and this might have come up because I get it. We see a formula like this and we're like, all right, this is quite, the fire hose here. This is too much, Scott, we don't need all this. And that may be true. You might not need formulas like this. And one of the questions that you're going to want to ask yourselves whenever you are coming up with formulas is, how accurate do you need to be? We don't actually use this formula in our cost item in our catalog. We just round up and we have margin because there's a diminishing return for putting the work that goes into building the formulas. So a question that you'll have to ask yourself is, how important is it to have a certain level of detail? Having formulas that are built out like this with if statements and nested if statements, are they achieving a desired outcome that you're looking, or a particular problem that you're looking to solve? And put in the amount of work into your formulas that are going to help you the most. The temptation when the formulas first came out and when you're building these and you've seen these for the first time is, wow, I can just build this catalog that, exactly calculates every dollar and every cent. And that's going to be the temptation. And it might make you feel good inside, but the amount of work it takes to build all those out might not give you the ROI or the benefit that you're looking for. I'll show you some examples of our catalog. We've got one particular cost group that we have, and it calculates like down to the box of screws, the number of studs. And we've also got, formulas that are really just going off of that square footage or building in a little bit of margin, and it's getting us close. And one of the benefits of these formulas is that it can improve the level of accuracy. So it's the difference between measuring by the foot to measuring by the inch. I see a couple of comments that, we're talking about like maybe we need or we don't need exactly these pallets. Like I'm saying here, this is really an example to show how we can combine formulas within other formulas, how we can basically continue to replace numbers with variables. They could be parameters, and these are going to be the tools. Knowing how they work and how they're built is the tool that we're hoping to give you here on building the formulas for yourselves. So that's quite a formula. We went through this. I'd like to show you one more nested if statement. And this is an example. We're going to go ahead and close this because I don't know about you guys, but I'm over it. Let's move on. I want to show you an example of another nested if statement. This is going to be much simpler, maybe a little easier to digest. The nested if statements can be really powerful and really helpful. And that is going to be in a sample item we created for, say, something like drywall. We're not drywallers. These numbers aren't real. We like building in the outdoor living space, but we're going to show you a formula for drywall dependent on the type of customer. So I'm going to show you a parameter that we have set up, and it's called client type. And we've got 3 types of clients. We've got one for a homeowner, one for a custom home builder, and then one for a production builder. And maybe we are the company being subbed, and we want to be able to offer basically 3 different price points without tripling the size of our catalog. And here's how we'll do that. We can check a parameter type. We can do pick list. And we've got the default set to homeowner. Okay, now once we've got that parameter created, let's save. It's already saved. It's already created here. And then we're going to go into the cost. We're going to show the details. We're going to look at the cost unit formula. Now, if you're looking for how that box were to show up, there's this little button right here. It's pretty nice. Unit cost. And maybe we want to give one, variable rates. We're going to hit this formula right here, and it's going to give us this box. And what we're doing here is, we are seeing that if the client type, which is the parameter, so if we were to type this in, we added that parameter, so now we see it in our list of parameters when we add it up here to client type, okay? And the parameters are identified by these curly brackets. So if you could see here on the screen, you see that this is that parameter inside that curly bracket. And so if it equals, and then I want to point out this quotation. Up until this point, we've been working with numbers. But if we're going to work with text, then we want to use these quotes. And that is going to turn everything inside of this into what's called a string. And so instead of numbers having value, they're going to be numbers, they're going to behave like letters. And so it's a way to, qualify and access text instead of just numbers within a formula that it needs numbers. Okay, so if the client type equals homeowner, then we want our unit cost to be $12 a square foot. So we're setting this up. If homeowner, if yes, we want it to be 12. If no, well, we've got more than 2 options. If you only had 2 options, you could end it here and you could put in your other number here, maybe 14. Okay, but that's not our case. So we then have a second if statement starting right here. And we say, if it's not a homeowner, let's look at our next fork in the road. And we need to say, if it is, let's see, what were 2 options? Home builder, custom builder. Custom, and then if false, production. Okay. So we've got this formula here. We got client, homeowner. If it is 12, if it is not, then we want to run the second if statement, the second fork in the road, and we're going to qualify off of custom builder. If it is a custom builder, then we want to use the rate of $10 a square foot. And if not, since there are only 3 choices, we could just type in the production builder rate here. If we had 4 options, we would do yet another nested if statement in place of this 8. And so I believe there are no limits on the number of nested if statements. It is common for that limit to be around 7, but I believe the programmers over at JobTread said that there is not technically a limit. Frankly, if you went over like 4 or 5, then, that thing's really humming. So, but in this case, we got 3 options, and this is a way to effectively triple our cost book catalog or cost items. And so maybe this is like a trade rate, right? And so this is a way that we can then say, if it is custom, and we do, if it is, nope, not that either. There we go. Then it's 10. And if it's not, it's production. It's A. So, yes. So anyway, there you go. It's a little bit clumsy, but this might be a little bit more easier to digest as far as how these nested if statements operate. All right, let's clear the table. Let's take a look at another one. Would it be okay if we see some of this live? Maybe I'll just show you some of our cost book items here. Let's just see what some of this actually looks like here. Okay, we're going to close this up. Let's look at landscape beds. So we've got a cost group where we've got this landscape beds. We got a little icon here that shows that's like the trade, or sorry, the industry trade, and then it's the service item. And maybe I'm going to take a step back. I want to show you guys our cost book catalog. I get this a lot. We're just going to take a peek at it right here. So what we've got, oh man, we are almost out of time. This is really flying. So we realized we created a template for our cost book catalog. And the reason we broke this out is because in JobTread, you can put a item within a group, within a group, within a group, within a group, within a group. And that can become overwhelming very quickly. So what we did is we came up with an outline. We dedicated these first 2 groups to high-level phasing. We call them 100 level, 200 level, the 300 level, 400, and 500. The 100 is high-level phasing, concept 1, concept 2. Our 200 level is work area, like maybe the front yard or the backyard, or maybe some natural breakouts that we don't want to show maybe an itemized bid because it'll be too complicated, overwhelming. But we do want to be able to say, hey, this area of the yard, the front yard, it's coming in about this much, and we want to show that breakout. Then we got the 300 level. And effectively, everything within our catalog works off of this 300 level. And when we did this, what we found is it really simplified navigating multiple groups within groups within groups, is instead of trying to look for the highest level parent group and then dig and dig and dig and look for the thing you're looking for, we actually visually start from the middle, and it makes 5 levels of groups feel like 2 because we find this little emoji that we put here, and we're either up 2 from this trade service or we're down 2. And that has really helped us navigate and simplify our organization when we have budgets that have, we've got pools, we've got fencing, we've got all these trades, pavilions, outdoor kitchens. We've got quite the mixture of what's happening in someone's backyard, and we needed a way to organize that. How this could be helpful for your business, say it is a very niche, very focused industry, and let's say you're only building decks. You might not need some of this, but what could be helpful is outlining this organization by doing the 100, 200, 300, and then maybe you don't need all of these levels, but you can use it to help sort out what is the best way to organize your catalog. And once you've got that framework, it'll make it much easier to navigate your guys' catalog. So, man, okay, we are flying here. Okay. So we've got one for material, and this is what it really looks like for us. We've got all of our materials in here. This is a little shortcut. We preloaded this with all the mulch. Let's say I want just one mulch. I select it, and I deselect by the numbers. Now I quickly delete all the items that are not in there. We've got a mulch square footage parameter. This parameter exists here. Our mulch square footage, and as you can see, it is a square footage type. So if we go over to our plans tab, and let's say we want to we want to measure out that mulch square footage. So we'll come to our plan here. We'll hit mulch square footage. And I got to zoom. If you haven't scaled the drawing, you can come to the scale. Go ahead and zoom in a little. And then we can hit some areas. If you hold the shift key, it locks at every 45 degree. That can kind of help you with some of the takeoff. I believe there's going to be some other sessions focusing on the takeoff area, but this gives you a rough idea of what that looks like. We'll hit enter and we'll hit stop. So now our parameter has a mulch square footage takeoff, and there it is in our budget. And it's this crazy decimal. If that is something you wanted to address, you already know what to do. This is good. We'll use the ceiling function. We're going to round up. And I'll just go to the nearest. There it is, 68. So now we got this nice even number, and it's going to calculate 0.78 yards. We know that mulch goes 108 square feet. As you can see, most of our rock here, a ton goes 80 square feet. Let's say someone was just really crazy and they want to do lava rock. I could come in here, copy this, and lava rock is lighter and it goes twice the square footage per ton. So that's some advantage there. I realize we're running out of time. I would like to address a couple of questions. So Casey, if you'd like to jump back on, I think we've got our limit of about probably 6 or so minutes. Give me a pulse. How do you feel? I got a couple minutes. I can hang out for a little bit. I probably have an extra 10 or so minutes to hang. Or like Nick recommends, maybe we'll just do about 5 more of these. And
So weekly formula session. We did enough people, Scott, asking about margin. If you could just show us basically just how you would go about calculating margin in a simple way for them to be able to, I guess, can you make just a basic margin? I know.
yeah, I would just take this whole thing and take it times, say, 1.1. That is enough to know that if you had to come back so that would be like saying, instead of adding it back in, I did that for the example earlier because I really wanted to show you the pieces, the hardware that's used within the formulas. In real life, how we're using something like margin, we might do that. Or what we might do is times, and then we create a parameter separately for that. And maybe we create this parameter, let's call this one waste, so it's different. And maybe we'll say 1.1 or 1.15 if we want 15%. And then we come here. Now we have it in our list, waste. If you don't want to look for it, you can start typing WA up. There it is. And now we are adding in the cubic yards to calculate that waste. Is that helpful? That's like a just down and dirty, just a real fast way to add waste, whether it's built in or you want to use a parameter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you could show us one more time just how to build one of those parameters. We did have some questions about that. So maybe just do that one more time for us if you don't mind.
Okay, parameters. So you'll come here to the parameters. And you can build one here. This is within the budget tab. You can hit plus parameter. And then we've got this list of types of parameters. And we have here, you can type in, pick list you can create. You can use formula. Gosh, man, I do have quite a bit. We got a YouTube channel where we post stuff on that. Maybe that'll help you out. Maybe make some requests there and I'll make some more videos for that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am a little lost because I didn't realize our time crunch here got away from me.
It's all right. Hey, we can go a little bit longer if we need to.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
David,
so
let me tell David. David, if you have a question, go ahead and type it over in the Q&A or in the chat for me, bud.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
So I want to show you the other way to bake in a parameter, and this is probably a better way to do this. So if we come into our catalog, we're in our catalog now. So this is not a budget. We're going to come into, say, a material. Oh no, we'll come here. We can add a parameter. Let's call it a new parameter. We'll make it a number and we'll call it waste. Let's call it 5. Waste 5. Let's save. And now maybe within the cost group, we have a material And what we can do is we can build in these quantity formulas into the cost item within the catalog cost groups. And what's really great about this, and I think this came up in the question in the Facebook group a couple weeks ago, you can use the same cost item here multiple times throughout the cost group catalog with different formulas. And the real advantage of that is, say, maybe you've got a labor rate cost item and you want to calculate that same cost item labor rate differently according to, depending on what kind of cost group it is within for whichever service it's in. So you'd come here and you could say, here is the formula. We want to take this whole thing times waste. Oh, you know what? I probably just need to refresh this page here. Okay, now we're caught up. So we'll type this times waste. Now we have our waste 5 parameter that's here because we added it to our catalog, and we'll hit save. This is retaining walls. So now we're going to come back to our budget here. We're going to add a group for retaining walls, landscape, retaining wall block, staff. Okay. So in our material selection, now we see this showing up here. Now, when we added it from the catalog to the budget, which is the direction I would highly recommend, that's really where the power of the parameters is going to come in. Now it's going to show up in our parameter list. If we want to add margin 1.15, waste, we can do that, and it's going to calculate in that item right here, the caps right here. If we go to plans, let's say it was a different parameter. Here's an example of a parameter, wall linear foot. If we go to plans, when we saved it in our budget or we added it, sometimes you got to go to parameters and hit save. Now those parameters are showing up as a list here. So now we can just go to, say, a retaining wall. We'll come back to this page here. And we've got our wall linear foot. And we grab measurement. Well, this is really brought over. I'm not sure how to move that. Yeah. Anyway, so wall linear foot, and we measure the length of this retaining wall. Here, here, and here. Now we've got that takeoff that now populates the budget for wall linear foot, which tells us how many caps we need. And let's say we want the diamond straight cap in natural gray. We delete those. And now we've got a quantity of number caps that looks, so this waste is calculating outside of this. You probably really would want to do this. Sorry if I'm moving a little fast there. And we're going to wrap that in parentheses. Now that's calculated to a whole number of caps. And it's taking the cap to our waste, and it's pulling from the parent quantity, which is the quantity of the group that it lives within. And this lives as a parameter. If we don't like this crazy long number, we do ceiling, and we can round it up. There we go. So 30 linear feet, we got 15% margin, and it's going to be 31 caps. Okay, so another question. What do you got, Casey?
Yeah. All right. So Mark Gill earlier asked a very specific question, so maybe you could help him kind of walk through this. He said,
Yeah.
"Have you been able to build this to produce a quantity takeoff," which I think we just talked about. He needs 7 units of 12 to get to 84 square feet, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I'm
Yes.
going to put this in the chat if you need to reference it at all.
Absolutely. If you could, thank you. Okay. Build this to produce a quantity takeoff. Okay, so you wanted to round up to by units of 12. Is that correct?
I think that's what he's asking. Yeah. Mark, do you want to jump in here if you're still here? Mark
Yes.
Zero?
This is great. This is what we did here. And so in our natural stone selection, we're just going to go ahead and edit these guys up here. Yeah, we don't need much. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn the description off. There we go. Okay, so we've got, let's do this one right here. Except instead of with all this margin stuff right here, we're just going to do that parent quantity. So it's a little easier to digest here. Whenever we are doing custom increments, we have to take the parent quantity, the number right here, and we want to divide it by the increment that we want to use. Then we want to round it up to the nearest basically whole number, because when we divide it by 12, it's not going to divide evenly, but we want it to be increments of 12. And so we round it up, and then we multiply that 12th increment back onto the formula, and that's going to give us increments of 12. And if you are familiar with how ceiling works in like Google Sheets or Excel, it is a little bit different. So the difference is in that syntax with a JobTread. It moves the decimal place for the ceiling and for round and for floor. In this case, since it is the decimal place, we need to we multiply it by 12, round up, and then multiply it by 12. And that gets us an even number of 12ths to produce that increment. Okay, hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
I think that was great. So we had a couple of questions. Philip asked a couple questions just technique wise. He was asking if you ever build in Excel or Google Sheets and copy over, or if you use AI to build any of your formulas.
No and no, not yet. So I don't build the formulas within Google Sheets because the same things like the ceiling formula operate a little bit differently. And then also in Google Sheets, the curly brackets aren't used the way that they're used here. The one advantage that you could use if you did want to do it in Google Sheets, let's say you build something like this, but you've got 47 different types of veneer stone that you want to be able to put that formula in. It could be a little bit taskly, or so you got 900 plants that you want a formula to be built in. I will take those 900 plants from the catalog. I will export them to a spreadsheet, and then I will like hand type in the formula. I've got a video on the YouTube channel about this where we actually,
Yeah.
give a slide. This is great, by the way, for any of those who got to get out of here. This is a YouTube channel. This is really just a passion project of mine. I did a couple of Zoom calls with some other contractors when I joined JobTread, and we were trying to just figure this out. And I thought, why don't we just start posting what we're talking about, how we're using it? JobTread does a great job of putting up videos on the how. How do you add formulas? How do you do these things? This channel focuses on the what and the why. How are we actually, how are we creating custom fields? What custom fields are we doing? How are we setting up customer pipelines? How are we organizing our catalog? And also things like this. How are we exporting and editing the catalog in mass by taking it into a spreadsheet application? And to your second question, I know I said no, but I realize I actually do. There is a plugin in Google Sheets for ChatGPT. And so it's a way that you can edit formulas within Google Sheets. And I have used that. I've got a video on it. It's a proof of concept where we use AI to update the costs, where the AI can look at a spreadsheet given to us by our nursery, and it can read the tree. It knows where its trees. I'd have to type in and build in the formula, the exact text for it to line up. It just looks at it, finds the price, puts it in, and then we copy and paste that column over. So we can edit the catalog in mass, including things like formulas, I believe, on the Google Sheets, on the spreadsheet side. All right, what else we got?
I think we have one more question from Philip. Philip, you'll have to go in here and remind me what part you're actually talking about, bud, about showing how the outline works in a document. He said, especially with ballpark budgets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this. How does this outline work? Let's just look at this, say, item by itself. I'll go ahead and make a couple of selections. We want that gray, but we also want, say we're doing VersaLock. So we don't need these guys. We don't need that. We'll delete that. And we're going to do the limestone color here. Lead, save changes. Okay. And then our installation, we've got a few things here. So when we export this and we want to preview it into a document, it'll look like this. We've got our header. We've got this nice little icon. By the way, I believe if you're typing that and you're on a desktop computer, this probably works on PC too. We're on a Mac. Usually the features, they exist on both systems. I'll show you that shortcut here. I believe it's Control and then Command and space to type in emojis. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. We've got our service. We're building a retaining wall. And we got a nice picture of what the block looks like. We've got some description. If we had the parameter for block square footage, it'll tell us the square feet of block wall. And then we've got this nice tidy list of the installation. And the reason we have it set up like this is because we want the things that the customer is picking to be up front and center. The pictures, the block that they chose, the colors that they're picking. We also want to be able to capture the descriptions. But if you notice, this is hiding all of the pieces that are inside of this. So for example, if we go to plans, let's just add some wall square footage. Yeah, we're just going to click around here. Let's say, okay, let's just get a number in there. Okay, so if we go to our budget, we see that we have some wall square footage that's populating in here. And you're right, I do need to clean these up with some ceiling functions. But now when we come here, if we look at the installation, it's labor, but it's also length, tubes of glue, it's chips, it's clean rock, it's rolls of drainage, it's rolls of fabric, it's excavator usage. Sometimes when I show this to people, they say, well, we don't need to calculate all that. And when I talked about earlier about diminishing return value of formulas, the value here is that whenever you have a cost group with all of these material items and we're capturing things like boxes of screws, it's not really about making sure we charge the customer $32 on a $97,000 outdoor kitchen. It's really about self-respect because we didn't have to go back to Home Depot because we forgot something on all this. And that's what it's really about. And so it's great that we captured some of that, but having the formulas gives us a real quick list of materials. Maybe this will be another video or something, but we can hit landscape materials and it's telling us how much we need. It's a view that we have set up. Same thing with labor. We can see how many hours we have calculated in this, set up by these different views. And so when we see this in here, we click this icon right here, and we can hide everything underneath this. So we're showing the items that are underneath the materials. We want to show that to the customer. We want those items as pictures, but we don't need to show tons of 3/8 chips or 3/4 clean. Then when we come to let's do a preview is selected. Yep. So now we're looking at the final proposal, custom order, final proposal, and we're seeing linear feet, square feet, linear feet of base, square footage of walls. If we had an increment for or takeoff for backfill, length of curved wall, and number of stone steps, that would all show up here with nice descriptions, and we are showing it. It's just kind of nice and tidy like that. Okay. That was a long-winded answer. Yeah, that's it.
Scott, that was great. Well, I think we've come to the end of our questions. What I will say is that you have the opportunity to interact with Scott on his YouTube channel with all of the videos that he has. So make sure that you go to that YouTube channel. He's got the QR code right there. Go visit him. Again, he's got some proof of concept stuff he was just telling you about that may be worth checking out. I think he's going to have a lot of information that is going to help you out, and maybe not all in one sitting, which is, I think, the thing that I took away whenever I first attended Scott's presentation was I just thought, man, this is all such great information. I have no idea because I was brand new what he's talking about. And so for you guys, it's about building blocks. And that's really what I think JobTread is great at, is that there is instant functionality and then there's really deep functionality. It's like, again, I use the analogy of jumping in the deep end whenever I heard Scott. So make sure that you're doing what you need to do to get out of JobTread what you want to get out of it. What you want to be able to do is going to help kind of illustrate what you might need to learn. And so Scott is an amazing resource. We're really thankful for you, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for giving us your time, but also giving us this information. And thank you for remaining a great resource for people who are utilizing JobTread. So if you guys want to give him little digital high fives, if you you can do that in the webinar chat. But also, I want to let you guys know that Scott is one of a handful of people that we've asked to do this pro spotlight. We're going to have one in 2 weeks. It's going to be Lisa Anderson and Eric Anderson with Dream Maker Bath and Kitchen of East Georgia. They're going to come in 2 weeks. They're great. I got to sit through that one as well. So make sure that you're checking back in the training section of our website and the help desk. Go there, sign up, but also make sure that you're giving Scott some love for all the effort and time that he's put into this. Go visit his YouTube channel, like and subscribe, and do all of the things that you need to do. But Scott, again, we really thank you from JobTread. We're really thankful for you, and hopefully you guys will make this a resource that you come back to. Go back and visit the site tomorrow. It'll be up there on our YouTube channel, but also in the help desk. And if you need to reference any of this information, it'll be there. But again, he's got his YouTube channel that can help you with any of those questions. So yeah, man, we just got a flood of thanks, Scott, to you. So thank you guys so much for coming, Scott, for presenting, and we look forward to seeing you guys on these in the future. All right, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. 2 weeks.